Today I'm going to show you how to replace the battery on your iPhone 5C. Here's what you will need. A PH000 sized Phillips head screwdriver, a P2 pentalobe screwdriver, tweezers, nylon spudger, an opening pick, suction cup, a heat gun or a hairdryer, a place to put your parts, and a pair of scissors. And finally, your replacement battery and your battery adhesive. First, turn off your phone. Don't just press the power button, hold it down until you see slide to power off, and slide it. Looking at your phone from the bottom, you can see that there is 2 screws right next to the charge port. So you need your P2 pentalobe screwdriver and you just need to unscrew those. If your screw is turning but it's not actually coming out, what you can do is you can stick your plastic chip in and put it near the screw. Just be careful not to put too much pressure, but if you put a little pressure, that extra pressure will help the screw come out. You might not need that tip, but I figured I'd mention it just in case. Make sure your P2 pentalobe screws are in a safe place. As you can see, I have mine here. If you want to, you can label them just so you know that those are the ones that go in the bottom of the phone. So next you're going to take your suction cup and you're going to want to put the handle kind of like this. Just get it as close to the home button as you can. So when you're pulling it this way because that's how you take the screen off. And then when you pull it, just kind of do a very slight, little bit of pressure until you see the screen start to lift off. See how it's starting to lift off? You don't want to pull it any more than that because you could damage the display. Now with your screen slightly lifted up, you can take your plastic pick and just insert it like that. And you can pry up on this side of the home button, and then you can go to the other side of the home button, and it should just disconnect. And you should just be able to start to lift it up. You might need to wiggle it kind of that way because there are some clips up here. So once you just do some very, very gentle wiggling, your screen should be free. So be careful to not open your screen more than 90 degrees. Don't let it fall over. You can cause permanent damage. So just be very careful to not force it backwards as you'll rip those screen cables. So there's a screw here and a screw here holding down this shield that we have to remove. So while you're careful not to move the screen back too far, you're going to remove this first screw and then place it on your mat in one of the spots just towards the top here. And then you can remove this bottom screw and kind of put that towards the bottom. And then when you take this shield off with your fingernails, just put it here. So then you know that this top screw goes in that hole and this bottom screw goes in that hole. Now you're going to take your guitar pick, plastic pick, whatever, or your fingernail and just pry up this connector like that. Be careful not to push it too far down because you could knock off some capacitors, which would cause permanent damage. So make sure you're being very careful when you do this. Great, you've disconnected your old battery, but now if we want to get proper access to it and remove it, we have to remove the display. So to remove the screen, we have to remove this shield, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. So you can start by removing this top left screw and just put that on your mat. Make sure that when you put these screws down, put them down in the shape like that they are in. So like kind of make a square here so you just know where everything is. Now you can remove the top right screw. This screw is not magnetic, so what I like to do is use my tweezers here and just pull it out because the magnetic screwdriver will not take it out for you. Now you can remove the bottom 2 screws. Just make sure you keep them organized and remember where they go. So now that I have done that, I can remove this. Be very careful when lifting this up because occasionally the connectors will stick to it. So just go very slow and then put this with your screws As you can see here, I have them all lined up. So I know that this one goes here, this one goes here, this one goes here, this one goes here. This is very important, especially here, because look at how different the screw sizes are. This one is a lot longer than these. So if you were to screw this long one to that tiny hole, you would break your board. So now that you have removed the shield, you can take your pick or your fingernail, and again, be careful not to push too deep there. You want to get just under the connector. And so you want to go on this side of this connector, and there we go. And then for this connector here, just go underneath like that. There you go. And then you can gently hold those back. And then there's one more here that you can just remove. And now you can remove your screen. So now you can see that there is a little spot here where you can see the adhesive sticking out. So if you can take your tweezers and pull that up, it is pretty wedged in here. Usually you'll have a little more room here. It looks like the battery was placed lower on my phone, but you just want to pull this just a little bit. And now you can see that there is this black tape and there is like these two tapes here. So what you want to do is grab some scissors and carefully cut it. Take your tweezers, and what I like to do is pull it just a little bit with your finger and then roll it like this and slowly pull it. And if it breaks, it breaks, but sometimes it will come off. So as you can see, mine did break, but I thought I'd show you what to do if yours doesn't break. So this is kind of the process. You just basically, you keep rolling it up and then pulling it out just a little bit. Once you start to feel kind of like a resistance, just roll it up again because that resistance will cause it to snap. So as you can see, I'm just rolling it up as soon as it comes out. Don't just try to pull it out. A lot of repair tutorials tell you to do that, but it is a lot safer of a method to just roll it up with the tweezers. So you'll notice that I removed the charge port, and that does make it a lot easier to access the battery tabs and a lot less likely that they're going to break. But the reason I didn't show how to do that in this video is because if you are like a first-time repairer or a one-time repairer, removing the charge port is a pretty complicated and annoying step, and it is pretty fragile, so it's not really worth risking breaking it. It's probably just easier to pry the battery out if you do snap the pull tabs. But if you are confident enough to remove the charge port, you can definitely take this route. So you might notice towards the end here that I stopped rolling it as tight and I just kind of pull it out. I don't recommend you do that, but since I've done this a lot of times, I could tell that I was nearing the end of the strip and that there wouldn't be much of a risk of me snapping it. But I don't recommend you do that because if you can get even one of these strips out successfully, removing the battery will be a lot easier. So if you break your pull tabs, what you're going to want to do is flip your phone over and see this side with the volume buttons. This half of the phone has the battery, this half doesn't. So now you're going to grab your heat gun or your hairdryer, and you just want to heat it up on this side. Don't get the heat gun or hairdryer too close and use it on the lowest setting, just a little bit, because you don't want to heat up a battery too much, obviously. So just do it for about like 5 to 10 seconds and make sure you're constantly applying movement. This is just to heat up the adhesive. So now that you have heated it up, you want to take your nylon spudger and see right here, it's kind of like a perfect spot to just stick it in and start prying it up. If you need more heat, you can apply that, The goal is to not bend the battery too much because that could be dangerous. Now you can pry it kind of at the bottom and the top, but try not to pry over here because when you're prying you might push back on the board and damage it. So just try to avoid this side. Also be careful of prying around here because there is a cable. So just be careful, especially right here. You don't want to rip it. So now if your pull tabs did break, you will have some leftover adhesive. So you can just pull that off. It's usually pretty easy to pull off. It just kind of comes off. So now you're going to take your adhesive and you're going to remove the blue side of the protective film. And you're going to get your battery here and just keep it like this. And see this black part? You want to line that up with the edge here. So just like that. And then you can press it down. And then you can take a nylon spudger and just kind of press it down to make sure the adhesive has a strong connection with the battery. Now if you flip the battery over, there's these two more blue pull tabs. Just remove those. And then you can take this and just flip it like that. And you can just press down these pull tabs. Now you can remove the pink protective film. Connect your battery. You want to just connect it like that so you know how to line it up. And then line it up on this side here. Make sure you don't have it too far down here, too far up there. And just press it down. You can see here mine's a little crooked, but it doesn't really matter as long as you got it in there. Now you want to take your fingernail or your plastic chip and disconnect the battery again. Make sure you disconnect it because if you have the battery connected and then you try to connect the screen, you could fry it. Now you're going to take your screen and just line it up kind of with the top here. And then flip it over kind of like you had it in the beginning. And so this connection right here is the first one you should do. So you want to line it up with the bottom first. So click it into place here. And then on the top, click it in, and then you can press the middle. Don't press the middle of these connectors right away because it might be bent and like the sides won't be fully snapped in. Same with like all of these. So this one, snap the side, and then the middle. Same with this one. You want to press on the sides and then press in the middle to make sure it's fully connected. Now you're going to take your screen shield, start here, just line it up like that, and then drop it down. Now the first screw you're going to do is the bottom right screw is what I suggest. So just kind of hold this into place, like you'll have to hold the shield kind of, and screw it in. So So now you're going to take the top left one, and this screw is going to be a little different because you can see this shield is lifting up. You have to like push that down. Make sure when you push it down, the screen isn't bent back too far because you'll damage it. And then while you're holding that shield into place, screw it in. Now you can take either screw. I'm just going to do the bottom left one. Screw that one in. So now for your top right screw, I like to take the tweezers and just lay the screw on the side like this, and pick it up like that, and just drop it into the hole. This might be really hard to do. You'll have to do several takes. Maybe you are better at doing it with your fingers, but eventually you should be able to get it to just fall into place. And once you do, you can screw it right in. Now you can just connect your battery. Take your battery shield, line it back up. And remember that this pointy side goes on the bottom here. Don't put it in backwards like this. Now you just screw this in, and then take your bottom screw, screw that one in. Now you can slowly lower the screen like this, and then just see those clips in there? You need to line those up. So if you press it in like that, just sort of slide it into place, and then press it, keep pressing down until you're at the home button, and now your screen should be fully in. Finally, take your two bottom screws and your pentalobe screwdriver, and screw those in. Congratulations, you replaced your battery. Let me know if this helped you, and make sure you recycle your old battery. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next one.